Now you're listening to Living with Bassel podcast.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Bassel from Living with Bassel podcast, and I have to say, it's good to be back, baby. It's been 5 months since the last episode. I'm really excited to talk about today's subject, which is the main differences between Florianopolis and Sao Paulo. But before diving into today's subject, I would like to do a quick shout out to my mate Karin El Ferry, that provides an exceptional English teaching service that revolves around teaching the language from a social linguistic perspective, which means comprehending the culture behind the language so you'll be able to communicate and speak the language as much as possible as native speakers. So if you would like to learn English in the proper way, I will leave a link to her LinkedIn in the description down below and her email as well, so you will be able to schedule a class. Now, today's subject, Sao Paulo versus Florianopolis. I'll be talking about the main differences between Sao Paulo and Florianopolis from different aspects such as living costs, public transportation, people, and places to go out. Now I'll talk about the renting situation in Sao Paulo. It will cost you at least 600 reals to rent a room in a good residential neighborhood, and if you would like to go to an upper class neighborhood, it will cost you at least 1000 reals per month. If you would like to rent your own apartment, it will cost you at least 1300 1500 reals in a good residential neighborhood, and in an upper class neighborhood costs you at least 2000 and beyond. Regarding your food expense, expect to pay around 400 reals per month. Of course, the number varies from a person to another and what you like to cook and drink. Now, what about the Paulistanos? I find them generally really awesome people, have international experiences with foreigners, and at the same time really educated, especially people who are in the late 20s, early 30s. But unfortunately, the people who are teens and their early 20s tend to be a bit more arrogant than older generation. In terms of the public transportation in Sao Paulo, you have the buses, a huge network of tube stations that are connected with train stations, so you can get easily around the city without much of a hassle. Last but not least, what about places that go out in Sao Paulo? Just like in my 6th episode, which I spoke about a couple of places to see in Sao Paulo, I'll be talking about some extra places, and I will briefly mention the places that I had already talked about in my episode. So, if you like the Japanese culture and you're aware of the history behind the Japanese immigration to Brazil, you probably know that Brazil has the highest Japanese outside of Japan. So, I highly recommend that you go out to Liberdade neighborhood in the downtown area of Sao Paulo. It has a lot of restaurants and shops that has the Japanese theme, especially like there are some supermarkets there that have items that were specifically imported from Japan that you cannot find it anywhere in this city. If you like to go out to do some shopping, the best malls that I can highly recommend are Shopping El Dorado in Rebouças Avenue, Shopping Iguatemi in Faria Lima Avenue, and the most important one, Shopping Morumbi, which is located behind Morumbi train station. If eating out is your thing, then you will have a blast here. There's a huge selection of restaurants from every cuisine you could ever imagine, but my favorite is El Sheikh Arabi Restaurant, which is a Syrian restaurant located in Pinheiros neighborhood, which serves a various selection of the Syrian cuisine. Now, let's talk about Florianopolis, or as the locals call it, Floripa. Regarding your weekly living costs, expect the prices to be higher than in Sao Paulo due to the lack of manufacturing in this city, so they have to import everything, which causes the higher prices. So expect to pay at least 500 and above for your food expense. In terms of renting in Florianopolis, expect to pay for a single room in an okay neighborhood around 700 reals and above, and if you want to rent like studio, it will cost you around 800 to 1000, and a full-fledged apartment around 1500 per month, and that's in an okay neighborhood. If you want to rent in an upper neighborhood, it will cost you at least 2k and above. What about the public transportation in Florianopolis? Unlike Sao Paulo, Florianopolis doesn't have a single tube station or a train station, so you end up taking the bus or taking an Uber, which makes it really a hassle to get around the city. Now, what about the many Zinios? Generally, I find people here are as good as the people in Sao Paulo, but the younger generation here is a bit more respectful, a bit more open-minded than the ones in Sao Paulo. Finally, I'll be talking about places to go out in Florianopolis. The main attractive destinations, in my opinion, are Lagoa de Conceição, which is a huge lake that's surrounded by shops and restaurants, so it's guaranteed that you will have a great time there. But be aware, you'll be expected to pay extra because it's a very touristic place. The second place that I can recommend is Uncle Joe's, which is a hamburger place that serves some really delicious burgers. The third place that I can recommend is a pizzeria called Santa Margarita, which serves some really delicious pizzas as well. The fourth and the final place that I can recommend is Iguatemi Shopping, which is a branch of the main Iguatemi Shopping in Sao Paulo that also has a lot of things to offer from a variety of shops and restaurants as well. After discussing these two cities, which one do you think is better, Sao Paulo or Florianopolis? Personally, I think it depends on your preference. If you like a metropolitan city that has an excellent public transportation and a variety of activities to do, then Sao Paulo is the way to go. But if you like to go to the beach more often and you like a nature-oriented city, then Floripa is the way to go. Thank you so much for listening. Hit the like button and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.